Hey everybody. Sorry, starting a little late today. You know, the other day someone asked about different music. I wanted to go back and see what they said. I forgot totally about that. Let's see if we can make that happen. How is everybody doing? Let me get chat started. I haven't done that. Of course. Oh, Windows. Restream chat. There we go. Y'all, all right. I don't even know if I can find my old chat. That kind of sucks, huh? I'm sure I could. I don't know. Ugh. All right. So last time we were working on getting basically parenting things, right? And we needed to finish it up. And what I did over, when we weren't on stream is I basically fixed it so that it saves the structure. So we get a hierarchy that's saved out, which we didn't before. And, and kind of fix it up to the save data. I didn't mess with the tools or anything very much because, I could leave that for some other time. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that today. I was starting to work on some fogging stuff, but I'm still kind of working on getting some core things in place. It really does remind me that, to do these things well, we really do lack compute, and that's something that is really hurting us. And I really want to get in there as soon as possible. All right, let's get our existing music. Or let's try something different. Oh, gross. I'll start this, but we'll keep it low. All right. So we're not completely silent. Let me clean up my desktop here a little bit. Make sure I don't have any secret projects on screen, because that'd be bad. Probably keep my email off screen. That's probably good too. And goodbye, Discord. We don't need you. Discord just gets in the way. You gotta kill it completely because it wants to stay. There we go. All right, so I have to keep this code out because it's not working at the moment. So yeah, I figured we can go a little bit more X's in the X secret projects. Yes, that's the type of secret it is. It's definitely involving cryptids. That would definitely be the kind of project we're talking about. All right, let me get my screen shared here. Once I get this cleaned up. I'm hoping that didn't kill anything. Yeah. All right, let me make sure things build. All right. So let me show you a little bit of what I did, and then we'll start from there and kind of figure out where we want to go. Kind of winging it a little bit too much today, maybe, but it is what it is. Share my screen. All right, back to the grind. We good here? I think we're good here. Yep. All right, so I think this will all run. I don't think I broke anything bad. All right, so this is where we left it the other day, but I made some improvements. So you can see these guys flickering over here. If I switch over to the lighting mode, see it better maybe. See that flickering light? It's because there are some lights attached to these guys. Nope. You know, so these lights are attached to those dudes. Moving along with it. Had to start to figure out like how to clone things and how to duplicate things and make that work. But so those are attached with it, and these lights over here, same thing. If I take this guy here, what did it just do? I don't know what it just did. It did something. Oh, I know what I did. It actually snapped something. Ooh, fingers in the wrong place. Well, that's annoying. Let's get out of here and come back in. Broke the level. I've seen a couple things like that where it suddenly snaps something out of the way and I wasn't expecting it. I think it's because of some of the state in the new snapping tool that I need to fix. Anyway, so back to here. So I select this guy and move it. You can see those lights move with it. So it's kind of doing the thing that I want, is I'm attaching objects to each other in order to make it ideally easier to do things like come and like say like, hey, we have this part and I want to attach it to the end of, you know, one of these sections. It's easy to grab, duplicate one and move it. So like right now, when you select this guy and I hit D to duplicate, it will duplicate this guy, including its attached elements, which is basically what I wanted to be able to do. Need Control Z functionality. Well, I do have Control Z functionality. It broke for some reason. Like I've seen some cases where Control Z breaks, and it's usually because something that you worked on, some interaction you made, you know, avoided the. Let me switch over to the gamepad for movement. It avoided the undo redo stack. So something avoided the undo redo stack, and that broke it. Anyway, so with that, you can move these guys like this freely and snap it over here and make another one. I can select this guy and duplicate, and you know, snap this guy back to here. So I'm basically able to kind of build pieces that I can reuse, essentially. That's not exactly how I want to reuse it, just because not everything needs to be parented. Like the lights, that makes sense. You know, it should be a parent. You know, moving the object should move the lights that belong to it. They usually work together. But if I wanted a tunnel that already had like one of these guys inside of it, you don't want to parent it to the thing because it's not really, you don't want one transform related to the other, but you do want it to be placed with it. So I think that's the next step in this is to be able to prefab objects. So yeah, so these things all move relative to each other. So when I go back into play mode in here and like move these guys, hit these guys, like the lights move with it, because they're part of the transform structure of it. Those lights are just full entities that do that. We could technically attach other things to this, to make that work as well. But it doesn't have to just be lights. It's really any entity in the system could be done this way. So that's the benefit of it, is that, it works with everything. We're still working on getting some of our level content fixed up, so we still have some temp textures in here. But yeah, so that is the main thing. Then I went and fixed the saving, and I'll show you what that's doing now. Let's see what I did. So I had to decide, like, how do I want this structure to work? And what I decided to do for this, in particular for parenting, is basically every entity at the end gets a child, tag, or element, and it has all the children in it. And the children are all written relative to the parent, and then on construction, it rebuilds them. So what ends up happening is, where is it? Scene. So when scene saves, it says, okay, well, first of all, it makes everything children now. The parent entity is children, so the scenes, like you'll see up here, scene, children, that's everything, right? And then when it comes in here and serializes an individual entity, after it serializes all its properties, it says, okay, does it have any children? It does this gather children. That's because we don't keep a list of the children active in each entity, just so that we don't have lists of lists of lists and kind of dependencies everywhere. Only when it needs the children does it call this gather children. And at that point, it does a one-time lookup to find them. Basically goes through all the scene entities, finds one where the parent is this item, and adds it to the list. So this is a hit only when you need all the children, which is usually during gameplay almost never. During editing and things like that, you might need it here and there to copy things, to move things, do things like that. But normally you don't need it. So that's why I wrote it this way, so that we just don't have this hierarchy of entities that, I kind of hate. Instead, it looks it up, lazily by the parent. And I could do it even lazier than that, but that seemed good enough. So it grabs all the children, and then it goes through each child and serializes each child and adds it into the end. The reason why the hierarchy stuff works is because the positions are always, the position is always in local space, and the scale is in local space, and the rotation is in local space. It is not, because they're in local space, they don't work from the transform. That means that when they serialize them, they're all relative to each other already. So it works out pretty nice that way. That was just a coincidence and worked out nice. What else about this? It worked out pretty nice. Everything kind of just flowed and worked, which tells me sometimes that, maybe how we're doing it is right. When it deserializes the scene, it basically says, okay, if I find a special entity called children, then it goes through this other path that deserializes that individual list of children. So it says, hey, deserialize these children, which just goes through each element and calls deserialize like each one is its own entity, and returns a list of entities that it found, because in this case, like, because it would find, all these guys would be, a list of entities. So it just goes through here and deserializes all the entities and returns it. So yeah, so that's how it works, and it works just fine. Haven't had trouble with it. Seems to be good. But I think our next step is to deserialize, is to have a separate scene that is loaded as a prefab. So we have an entity that is really just there for serialization and not there at runtime, at least. Or maybe if it is there at runtime, I wonder if it should be there at runtime is the question, right? Because what we want them for is we want something to kind of be able to say, okay, there's a prefab here, here, and here. And the prefab manages the scenes that are part of that prefab and ensures that they get created. It ensures that if the underlining if the underlying prefab file where it came from changes, that they're all updated in every instance of it. And ideally, the prefab also allows for modifications, so that you can have a prefab, copy it in there, and modify it in some way, and it still applies. It applies it to that child entity. So you can have kind of like overrides. But let's start with just having the prefabs work, so that basically, instead of having like here, these two guys are two unique copies of the same thing, instead it is a prefab that includes both these guys already in it, and it just works that way. So let's start with just making the data work. So what we want is we would want something like this, I think. I'm just going to take this level and up, and I'm going to copy this guy, and I'm going to come in here and call a folder. I want to put it in here. Now let's put it in prefabs. I'm going to copy this guy in here and call it flicker box. That sounds nice. And it is going to just be, it's going to be like a scene. So it's not going to be any different from a scene, I don't think. So it doesn't have to be. And it makes it easier, I think. It's just a scene that has, some elements in it. We're going to move this guy to 0, 0, 0 so that, scene starts at 0, 0, 0. No yaw pitch roll. It works the same as just about everything else, right? This is all relative to the parent. So we have this scene called flicker box. So I think that's what we want. And then I think what we need to do is add an entity that is a prefab that manages this process. So let's see. I don't have any of these entities kind of any structure at the moment. mblaster dev, blister dev. I would be so lost in this project folders, files, whatever methods do. Yeah, I mean, it is, but I feel lost to it because I don't work on it, all the time. I work on it a couple times a week. Between other things. Yeah, I even get lost at times. I usually have to just remember parts of it. I use find in files a lot to find things when I'm not sure. But the structure in here is kind of really loose and probably needs to be cleaned up. I was just thinking that I really should probably move most of my, well, not even in the right place. I really should probably move most of the entities to a specific, grouping just to make it cleaner. I guess let's do that with this new prefab. I'm going to use, usually when I build something new, are you doing prefabs today or do you do it last stream? I'm going to do prefabs today. Last stream I kind of did like parenting of objects, which is kind of a piece of the prefabs in a way. So today I'm just going to make the prefabs work, I think. I was going to work on fog, and I had started to work on it a little bit this week, but I just didn't get the time I wanted to kind of do the research, figure out the right maths and everything. And I just didn't want to sit on stream and stare at documents and look up samples and do that the entire time. So I kind of pushed on that. But next time we'll look at fog. Refactoring incoming, I don't know about that. But at the very least, making a new type and then seeing what fallout occurs, right? Because usually when you do this, fallout occurs and there'll be some refactoring probably. So what's the best? I want to find like a simple entity to change this from. Spawn is about as simple as an entity as it can be. So let's use that guy. I often just do that. I'll come in here and copy it, a type. Oh, well, that's not what I wanted to do. Come on, 2015. Nobody wants you open. gonna call that prefab, and you know what? I'm gonna start this process. I'm gonna go make a new folder. So we call it entity, because the word entities is kind of weird. I don't love it. I move this one in here, and eventually I'll move the rest, but I don't want to just move it just now. I want to make sure that everything gets committed before I do that. All right, so that's in there. So that should automatically pick up, which is nice. So we're gonna call this prefab. Oh yeah, I get to make an icon. And these are all our common elements. I think maybe I can templatize this in some way, but it doesn't seem worth the effort with as few entities as we have here. So the start of our prefab thing. I need an icon. I need to make one real quick, but I can make one real quick. Let's go content, assets, editor, icons. God, why is .NET so, or why is my stuff so screwed up lately? My start menu's all screwy lately. I don't understand why. This is Visual Studio 2025, or sorry, 2022. Yeah, wait, no. What is it? Yeah, 2022, 2025. 126, I guess, is the new one, huh? I'm going to steal this for right now. What seems like a good icon? I'm just going to clear this. I'm going to make the icon in white. I'm just going to make, let's just put some, I'm not going to make a good icon, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to make kind of a crappy one because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this stuff. And someone can come in and, hey, that's a good thing. Anybody wants to donate some icons for this, that'd be good. The working one. Yeah, I don't need 2026. My feeling is I'll move to it when I'm required to move to it. Till then, I'm going to stick to what I got. Let's do round right. I will do this, and I will duplicate it. I can, oh, well, that's annoying. Duplicate it, make another one here, and duplicate it again, make another one here. Probably should have made this like, why would, I should have paid attention. I wanted it kind of in white. Let me do white with a solid. Sure, let's make it, I don't know, hot pink sounds great. Stand out. Let's swap those colors. It's gonna be a crappy icon, but I'll live with that. Looks great. I'll take it. Eventually, we'll get better icons. Ordinary Roland says it's horrible. It's getting worse every week. Wow, that sucks. I mean, Microsoft is really, I mean, all companies are doing this. They're really squeezing down and getting rid of devs and cutting down their payroll. Like a lot of companies, like a big chunk of their revenue goes to payroll, and they're trying to cut payroll. And a lot of people are trying to use AI to cut payroll. And I think that's sort of a reason for some of the problems, is just a brain drain and not having enough of the right people to get stuff done. So I'm not surprised that things are broken. The new one is so weird, but it fixes some minor bugs for 2022 that are annoying. So I heard it, and it's faster, but I'm going to require to switch. I'm going to go use 2022. Yeah, I would stick 2022 for now. That's my opinion. I will try to avoid doing anything else. So if this is working, I should be able to create a prefab now in the editor, just to see if it creates it. It's not going to do anything yet, but let's start there. This is kind of payoff for all the stuff that we've done to already make these things work. All right, so we're in here. If I come in here, there should be, oh, there's prefab. That's interesting. Why is that icon? Oh, you know why? The icon, like, lost the pink. You know why the pink is lost? I'll tell you exactly why the pink is lost. It is because, and you probably, some of you may have run into this before and tried to understand, like, why did it lose that? Go to the texture processor. You look, the defaults, color key is pink. Color key enabled, true. The defaults for the texture processor enable color key. That means if you have this exact color, and this is how it was in XNA. XNA had this by default on. And maybe it is something that we could say, on the MonoGame team, we should like disable by default instead, or do something to change that behavior, because if you're not aware of that, it makes it transparent. So if you happen to have like a texture in your game and it happens to have that exact pink color in like 1 pixel, like across a gradient, it'll make that pixel transparent. And you're probably staring there trying to figure out, like, why is that broken? Why doesn't that look right? And it's for that reason, which is very dumb. And I really don't know why they made that the default. It was kind of a bad decision. It seems like saying I want to use a color key, it should be not the default. It should be, something you have to opt into. So, but we can fix that easily here. So we're just going to go under Content Builder and fix it so that the icons do not do that. So, yeah, this is where it gets to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So we have to do here, we need to do .png. And I think, how do you do this? Yeah. I think we can pass a null importer by default, and I think it'll figure it out on its own. New texture processor. You can see how much of a pain in the ass this is, when the default works fine. So the defaults accept color key disabled, and I think that'll do it. I don't think we need to do anything else. Let's see. It'll just affect this one path. Like if we look at our build process here, it should see that it, reprocessed all the icons. And really, we don't even have to do those icons like that. It could be that we just don't put them in the pipeline. Anyways, so now we get our hot pink back here. And on the icons that had colors dropping out, it should be fixed. That's interesting. Why doesn't this... Oh, this isn't set to resizable? No, it's not resizing from certain angles. That's interesting. Wonder why that's broken. That is weird. It only resizes at certain places. Strange. Anyways, so I can now create a prefab for that. Definitely stands out. So, all right, that works. So next process. I mean, Subzan asks, what do people use that color key option for? It's a pretty old school technique. That used to be something that you would have to do back in the day, before, like, people that came from, before PNG was even a format. Like when BMP was the only format, everything was 24-bit color. There was no concept. I guess there really wasn't a mean, there was a concept of transparency, but I don't think in art, you know, they weren't making images with transparency, because why would you make an image transparent? You have to display it on the screen anyways, right? So because there weren't formats with transparency that were relatively available, and a lot of tools were like bitmaps with this 24-bit, you know, without alpha, it's like, well, how do you define alpha? Well, you pick one color and make that color the color key, you know, and that's to key out that area, you know. That's kind of where it came from. And I think that's, you know, whoever wrote that texture processor, or whoever defined how that texture processor should work, said we should support color key. You know, in games at the time, back then when this was originally written, when XNA 1.0 was written, sure, color key was still, I mean, color key is probably still around. You know, PNG was around at the time, but, you know, I think they kept it around because some tools did. You know, like there were some, like whenever you go and look at sprite sheets from different games, a lot of time you'll get a sprite sheet that has a pink background, you know, and have color keys. So that's not uncommon. Let's see. Oh, wait, what are we doing? Oh, yeah. So we got that thing to load. Let's get back to this. So the next step here is we want to define a file name for that thing. Okay, guys. I have a knock on the door that I have to deal with, I think. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Had an interruption. Somebody knocking on the door, kind of loud, so I figured I'd handle it. Just a FedEx guy trying to give a package to the neighbors. All right, so back to this. So I think a good example of having a file here is our static mesh. It uses a file. So we're going to do this. We're going to have to fix it. Let me just call it file. Null's probably fine, actually. How does that work there? Well, that's just the name of the attribute, right? So we can call that. What would it do that for? I have to add a new type in here. See, I added sound a long time ago. I was like, oh, we're going to add sounds, which we are going to do. I think we have a meeting with somebody here soon to help us out with sound stuff. Stay tuned. Let's put in a little helper here. So we're going to want this to handle these entities. And we'll have to decide how we want to do that. This should work already, and then we want to just get this thing to work. Let's get our prefabs into our content building process, which is just going to pass through XML. One day we might fix it so that it actually doesn't just pass XML. Actually, this is already working. This is going to pass any XMLs through without processing. So in theory, actually, our prefab should already be in our output folder. So if I go here and Windows DX, content, we should already have a prefabs folder. Yep, it already has it there. So let's go to our editor. And I think it's, what is it? I don't remember where it's at. Is it in here? No, that's just a text box. Edit action, combo box. It might be in combo box. Okay, let's see who uses this. That'll tell us which one it is. There we go. Okay, so it does a couple different ones. So any of these work really. This stuff could probably be cleaned up and not duplicated, but it is what it is. I think this will make it work. I don't know if it'll do anything when I change it, but it should work. So let's see what we get here. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's just go for it. I always turn around. You'd think I'd fix this scene, did not do that, huh? So add a prefab. And there's the prefab combo box, prefab blick box. All right, so we have that in there. So that works. Gives us the right thing. We don't have anything else. You can see how like me putting cast shadows as a base element of all entities has a side effect, which is, you know, what happens in this case when, you know, does it get ignored? You know, probably. Also need to fix this to organize these because the order of this is kind of shit, isn't it? Like the common stuff should be at the top. We do need to do some work on this so it's a little bit nicer. Instead of things randomly moving around, things should be in consistent spaces regardless, right? The name and stuff should be at the top. We'll do some cleanup at that at some point, but let's get this working first. All right, so we have this. We can select a prefab box, and I'm pretty sure if I save the scene, it will work. Where's our spawn point, by the way? There it is. I'm gonna rotate that thing around. Whoa. I guess we start around -Z. It's interesting. I wonder why that is. I will fix that. I'll save this guy. When I restart this, it should still be there, and it should load our prefab in too. You know what's weird is you probably parent things to the prefab itself as well. It's maybe a good thing. All right. So we started in the right place now. And our prefab's still here. It still has our selection, so we're all good there. All right, that all works. So the next step is doing something with the prefab. So what the prefab has to do is when it changes, it needs to first clean up any old prefab. Load the new prefab. And this is somewhere where we probably need to cache a little bit or something. Like you could think that parsing the XML a bunch of times is probably a bad way to do this, right? I mean, we'll start there. But if all it's going to do is every time you load a prefab, or when you load a scene, it loads the same XML 20 times to load the prefab, that seems kind of shitty, right? I mean, it probably should cache the loaded prefab, like the entities that it created, probably cache them and hold on to them in a kind of a non-active state, right? Because you don't want those entities to be in the scene themselves. If those entities happen, like create collision data or anything else, it shouldn't do that. But it should, but they should be easy to duplicate, you know, to create clones of. And that's a little tricky too, right? Because, you know, how we've depended on creating clones so far is through serialization, which maybe this isn't the best way to create clones for this, for that purpose. Like how we do cut and paste is we serialize by serializing to XML and deserializing, which works, but it is the slow string-based path, right? It's the slowest way that you could possibly do it. I've messed with different methods of cloning objects via C#. There are whole libraries written to clone objects via C#, but we could probably have our own based on what we know about the entities themselves, right? Like we know what our types are. We're only cloning entities, not arbitrary things. We can probably have our own system. But for now, we're not going to do that. For now, we're just going to load the thing that we want to load. So this kind of all works the same way like scene does, right? So we want to do, and I don't know if we want to do it exactly this way. Let's see. We have scene, and it has the concept of deserializing. So there's this helper that just serializes things into a list. I think that's sort of what we want to do. I think how scene works is, so it has scene load, which loads a scene directly and adds all the entities to itself. But I don't think that's what we want to do here. I mean, we could, because it has a bunch of stuff in here that might be useful to us. And could we make this a prefab be a sub-scene like this? Sort of, kind of, but I don't know if we really want to do that. I think what we want to do is we want to let the scene stuff work, but we want to have like a helper here that does the internals of it and then have that public one. So this is what we're going to do. Make another scene or load function here. Public static or static? What do you think? Actually, I can do, can I do this? No. So it's just going to return found, and we'll call this function from the other one to kind of help us out here. Bambit says sick beard, thank you. It is Okay. It's getting a little out of control. I want to keep it pointed, but the girlfriend says no. I think that's what we want to do, and we want to have this return the prefab case, have it return this. So we want to do and it's going to handle loading. So it's going to do that. So the next question is, you know what? I want it to. Let's do this for now. We'll see what we're going to do eventually. Yeah, let's do this. For now, we'll see what happens. Does it? Oh, it's add range. Sorry. I don't know why I had a pen in my head. I think that might be like a C++ standard library thing. I'm doing some C++ stuff lately, and that might be why it's in my head. All right, just going to add the children into this to hold on to them. And then, probably when the I think I have some overrides. I'm not sure if that's the way we want to do it. What happens in here? Nothing. Actually, we don't want to do this, huh? Right? Because actually, let's reverse it. And I think at this point, let's start here. Let's see where we're at here. I'm going to see when this gets called, how it gets called, make some decisions on how we want to do this. Let's see. Has a file. It's going to load the entities. It failed. Let's see why. Oh, I know why. Because it's like, just open that. It's like, it's not going to find it. A couple different reasons. One, I think it needs the content folder. I think if I go look at how static mesh works, it probably does that. Should have probably looked at that before, huh? Yep, that is lame. Past Tom, meet future Tom. That is lame. These are all good things. Good ideas that I missed. So this one doesn't care about that. Here, I really do need to, I need this because I need the path combine. New directory file. And I think I have to do I need to do that. That's cleaner. Let's try again. Should probably set this up to load this scene directly on startup, huh? Yeah, look, now it loaded them. Entity and the two lights, so it has these guys in here. This thing has, you know, because the connectivity between it is based on the parentage of this, they're already parented to each other, they all work. It has this list of children. So I think if I come in here now and come to my prefab here, probably need to start making like distant ones, maybe more transparent or something. If I come in here and change this to something else, because there is nothing else to change it to. I can't really move it. Yeah, I'd have to have a separate one to be able to change it. So I can't test that just yet. We will in a moment. But hey, it's creating the thing. So let's do the next step. This is happening after it's already added to the scene, it looks like. Or was it? That's a good question. Let's go back and do this again. I should have realized that first. What I want to do is see, I don't think we're part of the scene yet. And I will know because we actually add a link to the scene, which I kind of want to remove, but yeah, the scene is null at the moment, so I can't do anything with these. So let's do actually have to do that. Make this helper, and we're going to override. I think this does nothing at the moment. Just want to put the functionality in shared space. So in theory, this is going to work. In theory. And we should have that prefab created and added to the scene. And if I have two of them, it'll create two of them. and I can share that definition in theory. So let's see, we're already inside of on add to scene. Now, interesting, why? Oh, I should have, duh. I didn't have to stop. All right. All right, got here, we have a scene. We're already, I wanted to check because we're already inside of the add scene, add this entity. When it does, it's going to come in and then add some more. And the question is, are we going to have any trouble with that? See, it's dirty true, entities add, drawables, datables, entity on add scene this, on add scene. So it adds that stuff itself. Okay, it looks like that's going to work. So we should see where our prefab is at. We're also going to have some icon issues here, because I think that's our prefab right there. Oh, we do have icon issues. Cannot tell what is what here. Did it not add it properly? Or did it give it a weird transform? Oh, you know what? Those things are in the scene, but they're at 0, 0. Because we did not apply the transform from the, so look, there they are right over here. It did not apply the transform from the parent down. Code Connect says, hey Tom, is web support still planned? I mean, we've talked about it internally. We started to work on some of that stuff, but we had to back off. But it's still something we want to do. We know that there's other solutions out there, so having built-in MonoGame support for web is not like super duper critical, but we do want to add it because we do want to have a complete solution that supports all the different platforms, including web. Even though web seems, you know, I don't know how, it seems like people that want to use it really want to use it. And there's some cool stuff. Like if you guys didn't see our open hours the other day, if you didn't check out XNA Fiddle, XNA Fiddle is really cool. This is done by one of the new board members. It is basically you can run XNA programs in the web browser. It's using KNI, I believe, for that stuff. That's the key to it. I created one really cool feature it has is I did a gist the other day, wherever that is. I used to do these all the time, and I don't remember where the heck they even are. Where's the gist stuff? Hopefully there's nothing super secret in here. I guess I need to go create new gist to get to the old gist. There it is. So I made this gist, and what it has that's really cool is you can point it at the gist that you've built. Yes, totally explore this. It's pretty cool. Import from gist, so I can select a gist here and load and run. And this is the gist that I built the other day just to test it. Because I kind of wanted one of these. I haven't had this in a while. I don't know why it didn't run. Error has occurred. There it is. The spinning MonoGame logo. It's built-in code. Extruded MonoGame logo. I didn't get a chance to add, good colors to it, so I left it at that. But, yeah, a very simple gist that just does that. Yeah, so that's the cool part about this thing is that that was a clever design that he had there. You create a gist with your code in it. You can even add images, right? Because gist can include a lot of things. So if you add images in here, it automatically treats them like content, and you could load those images as content directly, which is really cool. Anyways, this is pretty cool for web stuff. But yes, we're still thinking about adding it. I think it'll be a really cool addition. You know, I don't know if something like this could ever run the Ascent stuff. Maybe it could, but possibly slowly. But there's some really cool stuff there. But yeah, I think eventually we will do it. It's just not super high priority for us. But I think we want to do it because when you use them scripting like other, big web tools do. So I think that's the plan, is to do that. But we're not just there yet. I wish we had time for it. Right now, we just need to get 3.8.5 out the door and work on some other projects and get those done. And really, I really want to get back to shader stuff. All right, so this is what we're going to do. So this is our next problem, that when it brings in these entities, it has to move them here. So what it needs to do, let me first get out of here. Exit the scene. I'm going to come back in here, but once we do this. So it needs to move everything when it goes to add it to the scene. I mean, here I could use the parenting concept here, but maybe. Yeah, I mean, I could do that maybe. Just parent them. But I really don't want them to be treated the same way. Yeah, to make this work right, I'm not going to do the parenting. That's going to seem like kind of shitty. Been crazy. Caboose Step says 3.8.5 preview has been crazy, and I'm excited it's coming out. I've been playing with Vulkan, and it's insane with ECS. I guess any component systems, gigantic performance increase. That's awesome. My experience so far with Vulkan, at least I tried to. What did I try it on? I tested it on. I guess I tested it on Ascent here, and it didn't render properly. So that's a big problem. I needed to solve that. Original ship game runs 60 FPS on Kano on the web, so it should do. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely higher end than the original ship game, but it's possible that this could possibly run there. But yeah, the Vulkan stuff does. I mean, in theory, it should be higher performance than desktop GL, and should be at least as performant as DX11 is, but it's still too new, so I can't say for sure how well it's going to work. But we'll see. So what I'm going to do here, I don't like the idea of using the parenting stuff to do the prefabs and have it automatically fix transforms and stuff like that. I think that might be a bad path here. Yeah, I think what I want to do. Oh crap! I'm just thinking what the best path is here for right now. Because if I do the parenting, then everything looks like a parent there. It looks like a hierarchy, which I don't want it to save that way, for sure. Like entity has this get children, but it could, I could hack things. Gather children, like this says, get anything that's parented to this, but I don't think I want it to think that way. Technically, KNI supports web confuse shaders too, just after KNI. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, and that's where we want to be, is getting all that stuff working. But it's not the fastest process, but we'll get there. I mean, the parent would automatically update transforms and do everything that we want it to do. Yeah, let me just use it as a parent, because then everything else kind of works, and just make sure that certain functionality is just not available to it potentially. Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to best do this. Yeah, there's some trickiness here. Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. Let's start with just making this work the way we think it should work, which is we're going to go through the entities. So any entity that has a null parent, oh fuck, I forgot what that meant. I think this is only when we're fixing things up in forgot what case that does. If relative and parent does not equal null, we pre-transform it by the otherwise we just take the current transform and leave it alone. I think we want it to be relative. I think that's true. So I think that's what we wanted to do. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's interesting. What happened there? Suddenly gained gravity. I wonder what's happening there. That's weird. Strange. You know what it is? It's because it's a parent. It breaks the physics, sort of, because the physics entity wants to keep positioning itself relative to its parent. So yeah, the parental hierarchy is breaking the physics. So this is why I was thinking, like, maybe I don't want it to do this. So let's not do that. Let's make this handle it in a special way. Let's get out of this scene. Let's fix this. Instead of doing that, parent is null. How do I want to do this? We want to take, it's basically what we're doing here. I'm going to multiply it by its parent transform and then assign the transform back. Is basically what we want to do. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what we wanted to do. Let's invert this because I hate nesting. Yeah, I think that's what we wanted to do. Hot reload that sucker. So now it should appear and be in the right place. It shouldn't be moving. It isn't. Did it move the children? It's hard to tell. Oh, interesting. We lost our light color. That's interesting. What's the deal there? Yeah, it's like the children lost all their properties. Interesting. It also didn't reset properly, looks like. Huh. And that is our, I mean, it's not going to move or anything for us. Oh, you know what it is. I know what it is. Yeah, and we can't, we need to keep the original transforms from it. I think it's what has to happen. Okay, let's stop it for a second. Be lazy here. Let's just do this in a lazy way. You can do this in a better way later. For right now, I'm going to do it in a lazy way. All our transforms, so we have them. And then we have to wait until it's added to the scene to actually do anything here. Before we add it to the scene, we're going to fix their transform. Oh, crap, I lost my code. Well, I always forget that we have the more complicated so this will take, if the parent is null, then get the oh damn it. I wish I could easily have the index here so I can index two different things, but I can't. I don't want to do something. I'm going to fix all the transforms so it resets all of them when it adds it to the scene, putting it back where they belong, whatever that is. What do we want? This should work better, I think. Yeah, should work better, I think. So when it gets added, it takes its transform. There's no hierarchy. Sets it in the right place on scene add. And I don't think this gets called scene add. I only think gets called. I don't think we call app remove or anything when we're in and out of the editor. Should probably check into that. Hard to tell if it's working. I think it is. You know, it lost the lighting, lost its colors and everything. I wonder why that is. Oh, wait, no, it's over here. Looking at the wrong one. Now it's in the right place, so. It looks like it lost its children. I think the lights are still over here. They didn't get moved with it. Because they all have to be moved relative to the parent, even the children, because they're not linked to begin with. Yeah, that's the trick. Should probably fix this to automatically fix this whenever I start and stop again. Okay, so it's working now. It's the right place. It has its hierarchy. It's working. When I come back, it puts it back because it was in the right place. What I don't have now, let's see what happens. I'm going to take this, see a couple things. Like one, you can see how it's already a pain in the ass of like selecting the prefab versus selecting the other. I mean, it sort of works, but it's sort of the opposite, right? Like by changing the icon, you know that, well, if I see this icon, then it's the other one selected. That's not really ideal, right? So that's kind of crappy. That's something I need to work on. Sorry, guys. Just something came through here. Okay, so yeah, I need to fix this because this is, I mean, it's nice that I can cycle through these guys, which is cool. And it works in other places too. But I think the selected one needs to have like a bigger icon or something different so you can tell what you're actually selecting. Because otherwise it doesn't really work very well. Anyways, I know when I don't see it that that's the one I've selected, but moving that does not do anything at the moment. You know, it should get like, it should get a callback on transform updates and move everything to their new transform. So let's do that real quick. Let's fix that. Let's see. Update transform. Well, first of all, will it let me? No, it's not going to let me do an override. I'm a little suspicious of this. I don't know what order this is called in. I don't know how this is going to affect the children, so we're going to have to see what happens here. Something got called here for update transform on the prefabs I had to see. Oh, it's because it got the transform. Oh, this is probably not what we wanted to do. Add to scene got the transform, causing it to call this to move things around. Well, it just means that I don't have to do this when I added it initially. Yeah. So let's just disable that because it's already been done. Just gonna add them to the scene. Let's see what happens. So it looks like it's working. Everything's in the right place. And if I move this guy and let go, let's see what happens. Everything seems like it moved appropriately. Only works on let go, but you know, it's working. So I can move the prefab and it updates its transforms. In theory, rotation should work. Let's test that real quick. 22 degrees. Looks like that worked. Yep. So that's all working. That's good. That technique functions. I kind of wanted the cop bar kind of look there, the flicker. And then when I hit F12, it returns it to where it's supposed to be. Yep. Okay. So that's sort of working. I wish we could get some interactive movement here when we're moving these guys. I guess that's not happening for what reason? Not sure why that's not happening. That's our snapping. It's doing that. I'm not sure why it doesn't move actively. Because it works with like this. Well, I guess it's because it isn't parented. The parent transforms are the ones that do it, and the parent transforms moving. It should be calling. I guess it's not. Yeah, I'm not sure why this case works and that one doesn't. Like this case functions. Am I doing a special case somehow? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's minor compared to everything else. It is what it is. So, but we should see also, like coming out a new prefab. So there's a prefab. I'm going to create a new one. Should, in theory, load everything and make it work. It did not. Why? Why didn't it work? I think it did, but it probably put it, yeah, put everything at the origin. Some bad state here. And these are some garbage objects that I can delete. You know, even though the prefab deletion should have deleted them, that's a whole other thing. So let's try this again. Let's debug it. Oh, there's some empty space here. Prefab. I'm going to set that. Gets the entities, add to range, stores their transforms, add to scene. Scene is not null. It adds the entities to the scene. Oh, but on this is what was calling it to set its position. But in this case, it didn't do it. Right. Okay, so I know why. Okay, so let's undo adding that. Which who knows what the heck that just did. Let's get rid of these guys over here too, just in case. Some complex stuff here. I'm going to do it again. Okay, so add to scene is not going to mess with the transforms. It's just going to do this. Oh, needs to still needs that for right now. And I guess the question is do we add it to? We probably don't want to update the transforms. I mean, I guess we can do it either way. Do I add it to the scene first, then update the transforms, or the other way around? Let's update the transforms first. Well, no. Yeah, no, that's fine, because it's in the scene. Children aren't in the scene, but let's try it this way and see what happens. Okay, so it got added properly this time. got added to the scene in the right way. Notice how it doesn't have any, the lighting, no, the lighting's working. I was going to say that it looked like the lighting was screwed up. It's not, it's just hard to see. All right, so it did the right thing. So if I get rid of this breakpoint now, I create a new one. Come and add this, bang, it creates it. Which is what we wanted, right? We have a prefab being built. Now let's see if we can get cleanup to work and then go from there. So when the, I think when I hit delete, there's a remove from scene that's called. Let's stop real quick. Scene remove should probably do, should remove all the entities from the scene itself, right? So what does this do? Does it null out our scene? Yeah. So we're just going to go through the children and remove them from the scene at that point. Took a guess at what I wanted to do. I think that'll get called on delete, I think. We'll see. Just trying to get everything to be managed by this thing. There are more complications. This is a starting point. Ooh. Okay, so this guy moves and everything. If I hit delete, it does call the scene remove. So it takes each entity, removes it from the scene, calls based on scene remove. They should be gone. All right, so that works properly, or at least seems like it does. Assume it's not going to come back and there's no lingering entities there. Nope. So, all right, so we have kind of a cleanup method. Now we still need to have this do the right cleanup. Oh shit. We'll get into that other case here in a moment. All right. Ugh. Controls are out of control. All right, so we have it doing that. Let's make a new entity. And here's a trick. So I'm gonna make an entity out of this tunnel here. Or prefab out of this tunnel here. Select it, I'm gonna hit copy. And if I go to Notepad or your Notepad equivalent and paste, it gives me the children, because that's how our cut and paste works. It copies the XML into memory and then it deserializes it to build this back out. Which once we have a better serializer for this, if we have a serializer that's binary, we can start sorting in binary. But I think keeping cut and paste working this way is kind of nice, actually, because it allows you to do this. It means that, and this actually works on other tools. I picked up this trick actually from Unreal Engine, surprisingly. Unreal Engine does this. If you get some entities in your scene or copy some objects in the scene, hit copy and then go to Notepad and paste it. It'll paste out the text to serialize, that serializes it, which is really nice because it means that, you know, Unreal has really bad problems with merging modifications from different developers, but it's really nice if you can go and get the scene before you have a bad merge and copy all the elements that you want to keep, put them in Notepad, and then open up the new scene and paste all your stuff back in. It totally works, which is crazy, but it does. Anyways, so what I wanted to do here was I wanted to add a new prefab here. We're going to take this guy because it has the bits we need. And I'm going to throw these guys in here. Oh, where'd it go? What'd it do? Annoying. I don't know why I did that. Copy. Sure, that works. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, first let's fix it right. Actually, no. Yes, save you. Put you back. Paste this guy in. I'm going to save as. Sure. Okay, so I have 2 prefabs now, Flicker Box and Hall 1. This one won't come up because it's not in here yet, but it will be. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to close this and reopen it. I need to deal with this case. We'll deal with this next. I am going to find out that song that somebody suggested and get that pulled together. Change our song music for the thing so we have some choices. All right, so I'm going to take this guy and move him over here. So there he is. Right with him. I can create. Let's make sure the other prefab works first. Yep, prefabs Hall. It didn't have a 00 on the entity origin, so that's why it's doing that. You can see how that still works. Right. If I change it to Flicker Box, here's where we get things. All right, so what we want to do here is basically we just want to call remove from scene on all of it, right? Because they don't need to be destroyed per se. Scene removal does cleanup, so we just do this. Let's put it over here. That does clean up, and it loads the new one. So now we can swap these entities between the two, and it works. It's creating and destroying a bunch of stuff in the process, but it works. That's kind of nice, right? It means that if you have 4 or 5 different, boxes and stuff, you can go and select one and add it in there and change it, which is cool. Now you can make a big box and a small box and have physics properties and everything else. So that's a cool thing. So cool, I'm pretty happy with that. And our delete works, right? Looks like it did. Now if I undo, does it work? It does, look at that. Now, once you get things working the right way, things start to work the right way. If I change this guy now to Hall, then I delete it. And I undo, creates Hall, undo again. Oh, undoing again didn't work. Why didn't undoing again not work? Huh, I wonder why that is. That's interesting. Okay, that undo worked. Okay, so I change the Flicker Box, undo, it switches it back, which makes sense. Maybe I just had it wrong. So I'm going to undo, undo, undo. Okay, so now it's working. For a moment there, the undo didn't work. That's weird. I don't know why that is. That is interesting, though. Why would it be? I want to know why that's not working. Let's go look real quick. It's in editor, gizmo set transform pick 0 transform. Oh, it moves only the transform of the root object. Wait, is it? Not sure why this works. I mean, that should work, right? I have to tell it to step into specific. Parent does not equal null. Oh, I see. Because all it's doing is setting the transform state dirty. Even though it set the transform state dirty, it's not until it so prefab isn't getting an update transform. No, it is. Okay. Oh, the update transform comes before it. Wait. The transform should be dirty. Why? Seems like it should be moving, huh? What am I getting wrong here? Okay. When I step, does it update that transform? It does not. Well, now it's doing something different. What's happening now? Okay. Now I can't pick. Okay. Okay, I don't understand why that's not working now. It's like it's circumventing the transform code. That's kind of weird. You know, it just could be that the dirty flag, you know what, my dirty flag needs to be more complicated than this, is the problem. So what's happening is it's because it doesn't actually, it only, here it's process input transform action. It's only on completion that's doing it. So I think this is the only reason it was actually calling it all. The problem is the prefab doesn't render. So it never has to get its transform for any reason. Since nobody's getting the transform, it's not updating the transform. What I need to do is hack something specifically for this. What's the best way to do this? Let's clean up here for a little bit. I wonder what adds this to our drawbles list. I was just thinking about that. Technically, I guess it always adds stuff to drawbles. There's no like, oh, it is entity drawable, right? So I'm going to say it's not drawable, so don't need to draw prefabs. Keeps it out of the list of like, let me call draw on it. But what I want to do is I don't think this needs to do anything, right? Right. Oof. What did it do there? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it's not drawable, it's not updatable. But can I do that? I don't think if I change this flag, I don't think it does anything. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. I definitely don't want it to do these things. I just don't want. Well, let me just leave this here for now. For now. And what I'll do is just have this, all it has to do is call should I call that? That's going to make it work, which is not ideal, but it'll do it actually. So that's kind of weird, but it will fix it. So it'll move interactively. But it just tells me that there's something wrong in that dragging code. So when I do this guy, so now it's interactive. It's because the transform wasn't updating, because just because you moved a transform, it does not immediately update it. It updates it lazily. And since the object isn't drawing, normally the drawing code would be the thing that says, hey, update its transform. So yeah, that's why. So there's lots of other things here that we need to deal with. One is, we want to be able to modify the prefab, I think. So that a prefab can be a prefab, but you can still do minor modifications to it. We want to unprefab something, like explode it, out of the prefab, potentially. So that's kind of important. There's a lot of things to dig into here, with this. It's almost 4, so I need to call it a day. But yeah, there's a lot still here to dig into, because we need to be able to, ideally, someone could come in here and change the color of this to something else. And yeah, that works here, but the next time you load the prefab, it's going to be a different color. It's going to restore the old color. And what has to happen is we have to store the difference, right? Like when it saves a prefab, it needs to go through the original properties and the new properties on the prefab and store only the differences. Then when it loads the prefab, it applies the differences, which is tricky. So prefabs can have differences, and it needs to know how to do that. Probably how it needs to do that is it probably needs to, like I said before, like we need to cache the prefabs in memory so that we have a in-memory representation that is not added to the scene, but has all the properties and everything. And when we want to create an instance of it, it can create an instance of it. What I'm thinking should happen, let's enter our scene a little bit before we call it. What I'm thinking should happen is we should probably set it up to, you can see our lights are dropping out. So many lights happening at the same time here. It's overwhelming our light index buffer. I need to, I think there's a lot of issues related to that, but the big issue is that our light spheres are too big. If I turn our light spheres on, you can see how big those light spheres are. They probably need to be a lot smaller. It's mostly because of the light fall off technique that I'm using that it makes a very large sphere to get a fall off, and it probably doesn't need to do that. So I need to work on that a little bit. Plus I need to increase, how many lights we can have in the buffer from 16 to 32, because that's just the right thing. And better prioritization. Like right now, there's no prioritization of those lights. It, tries to include all of them, and it should probably prioritize a little bit more. So when it drops stuff out, it makes sense what drops out. And those are shadowed. So yeah, so what should happen is, to make prefabs work nicely, is we need to have we have currently an XML representation of the scene. We have the scene loaded in memory, the running scene, the one that's actually is game playable. And then we need an intermediate representation that is easy to create copies of, right? It's a fast creation of copies. It doesn't involve deserializing XML, so that prefabs can load from that structure. Also it helps us in doing things like making differences between, or storing the right information for a prefab. If we have a prefab, we want to store it back in the scene, but we want to store the children's differences and not just the full child. So we want to only save properties that are modified, essentially. If you modify the color, then the color will be modified. And even if you go back and change the color in the base element, the derived type, it just changes its color anyways. And it should probably be per property. You don't want to say, well, I only changed the green channel, so only keep the difference in the green channel. It should probably just be per property. If you overload the position or the color or anything else, it should probably be the overloaded position. It shouldn't try to change that. But yeah, that's what we really need it to do. So we should have a new representation that handles that. So yeah, that's the next step, I think, is to having a representation here that supports that, is an intermediate format, for the scene that is used for instancing prefabs in particular. That'll make the loading better, and it'll make it easier to, it'll make the loading better. It'll make everything a little bit easier. Cut and paste can still work this way. Duplicate doesn't have to work that way. Duplicate can totally, instead of working with text, could work with this by intermediate format. Which is just going to be a list of, strings, essentially, right? It's going to be like, what's the name of the entity? Give me all the properties for the entity, the property and the value to it. And it could store it as strings, because it could still parse those strings, potentially. But what we don't want it to do is read a whole XML hierarchy. We don't need it to do that. Yeah, that's probably our best bet. Man, I wish our normals were working better. Normals are kind of crappy at the moment. And fog is going to make this feel very different. Having some fog in here and fog volumes, that'll be really nice. Yeah, some material improvements that are coming. And then after that, the next set of things I want to work on is I want to work on occlusion. Because right now our performance is really hurting because of our occlusion. If we're only running 100 frames per second in debug here, which we should be running several hundred frames per second. You can see that when I look away, our frame rate really picks up. Even though we have a ton of lights and everything in the scene, it still picks up. you know, because it's just mostly just drawing stuff that's not visible, right? Like all this stuff back here is being drawn, even though they're totally not visible from here. And there's different techniques, but I really want to do a software occlusion buffer because that's the most flexible and reusable for anybody that tries to, you know, take pieces from this demo in the future. So yeah, that's where we need to be at, I think. So what do we learn? I guess I guess we learned that this is pretty. I guess we learned this is pretty flexible. It wasn't too hard to add the core concept of prefabs. We still need to add in the ability to edit prefabs from the editor, right, interactively. Which I think that's another feature I need to add in before the next stream. Is just file, open prefab, and you select a prefab. It gets rid of the scene that's currently loaded. Asks you if you want to save it first. Gets rid of the scene you currently loaded. Opens the prefab scene, so it's just the prefab in there. And then you can modify that prefab scene, hit save, and then go load your level scene again. And when it loads it, the new prefab should load in. I mean, that's what we want it to do, essentially. So yeah, that'll be pretty important to make that function properly. If we can do that, then things will be pretty cool. It does mean that we need to make sure that when in editor mode that it works from the right content. There's a whole double content thing here that we need to worry about a little bit. But that's what we want that to work like. So you can load a prefab, it's a new scene, you change it around, save it, come back out, and now you load back into your main scene, and you can add those prefabs in and change them around. So it's very smooth to work on that. Or fairly smooth. We don't want to have two windows or anything wacky like that. So yeah, I think that's the next steps in the prefabs is that, and that'll give us a lot of cool functionality for editing, I think. But I really need to get back into some graphic stuff. So next time, let's look into some fogging and get that started, because that's going to add a lot to the atmospherics. Hopefully we will have some more content done on the level that, some of our texture work will be fixed up and stuff. That'll help a lot with the look of it to have some nice textures. And then occlusion, which will get our performance back in line, both for shadows and for the main scene. It'll be important for that stuff to use the occlusion to make it work, optimally. So that'll be the next big kind of thing. And then the last big thing visually, I think, is we need to get some sort of ambient occlusion worked out. Kabusep said, I appreciate you going through everything and looking forward to next time. Yep, thank you. I'm looking forward to the next time too, because I want to work on more on this stuff. I just, have to still do other monogame things and pay the bills. So that's the difficult part. But yeah, ambient lighting, like that's the thing that's killing us right now. The ambient is flat. We need a better solution. And, there are some high-end crazy solutions that are very difficult. So I'm trying to find a good intermediate solution that gives us some fairly good results for fairly low effort. I've looked at screen space techniques. I've looked at, pre-computed radiance volume type of techniques. There's a lot of different techniques out there. Just need to find just the right one that is not too difficult to understand and apply here, but gives us a fairly good result. But it's not, it's not going to be a perfect be-all end-all of perfect bounce lighting or anything like that. And we don't want to pre-bake anything. I think we want to have everything as dynamic as possible. So yeah, a lot of stuff to do there. All right, everybody. So thanks for watching. As always, we're on Twitch and YouTube. Get a chance, follow us. We're always trying to increase our follower count. I haven't checked to see where we're at on Twitch yet. Let's see where we're at. Does it say? I can never tell, where we're at. Somewhere it'll tell us. Somewhere on this thing. So many numbers, so much stuff. 101. All right. Well, one person followed us since we hit 100. Maybe we'll get 2 now. And also on YouTube, we're over 7,000 followers and subscribers there. We're trying to get more and build that audience. There's some new shorts up on YouTube, and we're trying to do some more interesting shorts. We had some good suggestions from people. Code and Canuck, thanks, Tom. You're welcome. And as always, donations to MonoGame are appreciated. It's not just money. You know, if you go and contribute to the project, something as simple as submitting bug reports, you know, for stuff you're running into, that totally helps us. You know, we can't fix things that we don't know about. Other people can't help by fixing things that, you know, have been reported if they don't know about it. So those things really help. And, you know, if you're, you know, so inclined, you know, there are issues on our GitHub that are marked, you know, good first issue, that are simple issues that people can jump into and help the framework on, because we're always looking for help. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye.